Financial disclaimer. The information provided in this stream is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional financial or investment advice. We are not licensed financial advisors, and the content presented here is based on our personal opinions and experiences. Investing in stocks and other financial instruments involves risk, including the potential loss of capital. Any investment decisions you make are solely your own responsibility, and you should conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any investment choices. The content we share on this stream may not be accurate, complete, or up to date. Market conditions and financial regulations can change rapidly, and we cannot guarantee the accuracy or reliability of the information presented. We do not endorse or promote any specific stocks, companies, or investment strategies. Any actions you take based on the content of this stream are at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses or damages that may occur as a result. Always remember that past performance is not indicative of future results, and no investment is guaranteed to be profitable. Make informed decisions and consider your risk tolerance before investing any funds. By accessing and using this stream, you acknowledge and agree that we are not responsible for any investment decisions you make as a result of the content presented. You are encouraged to seek advice from qualified financial professionals for personalized guidance. Please invest responsibly and only with money you can afford to lose.
Hey man, just found the next guaranteed multi-bagger.
Hey man, you found another one? What is it this time?
Come check this out.
Okay, next please. How can I help you, young man?
We want to go all in on NCL. We love when a company drops 80% on all news, and we look at this as a great buying opportunity.
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision, young man. We can put that check and it's gone.
Hey Johnny, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good. Welcome everybody to the Laughing Stock. Happy Saturday. Finally have some. Well, actually, it's gonna rain this morning. It rains every Saturday here. It's guaranteed. We don't have to worry about it. It's gonna rain. But it looks like at halfway through the day it stops, and tomorrow's actually nice, so I'll take it.
Yeah, I was. We are now a week into June, which is supposedly summer, but I don't see so much summer here where I live either. So it's just been a very slow start to the summer, I think.
Yeah, we got hot here. It's been up to 90 here, but or I don't know what that is in Celsius, but like probably like 35 or something, 36. I don't know. It's warm.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
And we're in that stage where now we just get thunderstorms. It just like downpours. But yeah. It's been a lot of rain. It's just the rain that's been killing me. But you know, that's what it is. And really, it doesn't rain all week. It just rains on the weekends. That's what's killing me.
Yeah, that's it's like someone doesn't like you, you know.
I know that's true. That is true.
Yeah.
No, I think I was just listening. Someone was telling me, I think it's been 29 weekends in a row we've had rain.
Nice. That's a good statistic.
Yeah, I was like, I wish I could bet on this. I would.
Yeah.
Is there an ETF to go against that? But anyways, yeah. Strong week, strong end to the week.
Yeah, very.
We've been talking throughout the week, and I don't know if anyone follows on the Discord, and it has been tough to get into some names, although I do think like it kind of looks like stuff's starting to break out again. We were just looking at gold, but you know, just looking at the NASDAQ, it looks like it's trickling up here. We've kind of thought that, you know, this could be forming a base, and we could be at least breaking out, maybe up into this 20s here. You know, I could definitely see that. I think the fact that, you know, every other week Trump is putting tariffs on, taking tariffs off, everyone's just kind of like over it and not really paying attention anymore. So now the markets are just like, let's just keep going. We'll see what happens. You know, I don't know if anyone believes anything anymore.
Yeah.
Because that obviously that was the huge, you know, this whole section here all was due to tariffs and kind of the changing of the economy. And at this point, I think everyone's kind of like, I don't really know what's going to happen. And we're not going to try and, you know, predict that every other day.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But overall, you know, I had my market strength up here. This is one of the strongest days since I've been recording that we've had. A lot of breakouts are working. Now, like I said, it is still tough to get in. It's still pretty volatile. So you kind of have to keep your stop losses relatively larger and maybe decrease your position sizes to stay into these things, depending on how much you want to risk per trade. And, you know, at this point, I think a lot of the value names have already kind of come out of their first, you know, like the deep lows. Now, there's still plenty of names. So if you're doing straight deep value and you're just like flipping stones, I'm sure there's stuff to find out there. You know, I still have my USEG position. That's the one that I'm just kind of holding and waiting on. But at this point, I think breakouts are strong enough and working enough that I'm going to put the focus back onto that as opposed to the value side right now. Is that kind of how you've been thinking, Johnny?
Yeah, you know, I sold out of SSRM a little bit ago, which was one of my long-term positions. Now I only have Mastercraft left. I have not sold out of Mastercraft yet, but that's a tiny position for me, so I almost doesn't count it, you know. But I wanted to, part of the reasoning selling out on SSRM, which by the way have just continued to go up after I sold it, but I'm happy I got a double and a bit on it. But part of the reasoning I had was I want to get that cash out so I can start to focus on swing trading moving forward, because I think we are heading in that direction.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I was talking to Johnny. I've been kind of experimenting. Like if you look at my portfolio now, QBT and Core Card, these were the two that I took that are kind of just normal swing trades for me. And I, you know, USEG's just my longer term position there. And actually, I don't think I ever updated the portfolio size for USEG. USEG's definitely higher than 12% right now. But either way, doesn't matter. Yeah. And then you'll see I have a bunch of smaller positions here. I'm trying something different. A lot of these are taken close to end of day. And my goal is to kind of skip out on some of the volatility you see intraday. I don't know if they'll hold, you know, so I didn't take big position sizes. You'll see they're all around like 1%-ish or less. Just depends. I wasn't really thinking too much into it. I just wanted to take some positions and see how it worked out. But statistically, you know, when I'm looking at like my market strength and stuff, like if you're looking at your win rate percentage, you know, it's been anywhere. 30% was a low, 25% last week. So there's going to be times, but like if you had just looked at, let's say this whole last period here, yeah, there's going to be days where you're going to get hit on some of the days, but overall you're going to win on most days. So my goal just being, as long as the hit rate's good, your stop losses are in there, it should work out statistically. Yeah. And you know, like I said, there's a period last week where it was a little bit tougher, but now I'm starting to see a lot of the breakouts. The failed breakouts have been decreasing throughout last week. There's a lot less ones that just like no matter what, when you get in, they just, you know, collapsed and fell apart, which really shows strength more in my mind. You know, we kind of are like I got 170 now for new 52-week percent highs, so that's pretty strong. The only one I've had higher than that was the 227 day at the start of the week, so it looks like we're kind of climbing back towards that. So just different things, but overall, I was just talking. I mean, if you just look at the pretty colors here, you know, this was the start of when I was recording versus, you know, here now. And this is just based on, you know, like my conditional formatting is just, you know, low to high. So like these are the lowest numbers I've had versus the highest numbers. So you can see it really looks like we're out of that real deep period where, you know, in here, this is screaming to me next time I see this, go into value. Just start looking at deep value, start looking at stocks that are at their bottoms and trying to find businesses that, you know, have some kind of change in them or something like that, or you know, might not go bankrupt. And then as we get back to this period, it's back to breakouts.
Yeah. Maybe in that period moving forward, in some time in the future, you go into shorting things.
Yes, and you know we talked about that, and you know as of now I'm not shorting things just yet. You know I'm not. Yeah. I'm still honing on all my strategies for actually working on breakouts and those kind of charts. So I don't want to you know go nuts and go shorting, but yeah, in that market you could have easily done breakdowns. So And maybe that I'll find more productive than, I don't get me wrong, I love deep value, and I'll always find stuff through that. And USEG was a position, for instance, in terms of deep value. Sometimes when I'm looking at my swing trades, it just gets a name in my mind, and I'll kind of look up the company to see what's going on. And I think you can find really good deep value in something that's really low and is finally breaking out. Like that's usually where, and sure, I'll miss that very first move. But to be honest, my bigger issue with deep value used to be I would get in before it actually hit the bottom. So I'm averaging down for a while. And then you kind of average out anyways to where like it would break out to anyways. So my point being is I don't really need to catch the very bottom. I don't really care. I just want to catch somewhere near the bottom and then ride that up. And, in terms of like time frames, it all depends. Like, my goal with USEG is to hold through sometime next year, essentially. And like I said, unless it's up like a ton, but I don't know if it's up a ton, I might continue to hold the position because it could work out like a nut X type deal, where it could be, a really long runner. I saw Value had said that he finally got stepped out of the whole nut X position, but that must have, I don't know what his overall cost basis was, but that must have been a multi-bagger pretty well for him. And then
that was a good one.
Just over to the dash, I was just talking, miners are down a little bit, which makes me think maybe people are pulling out of that and getting back into the actual markets. Natty gas was up. Innovation, whatever the hell that measures. Innovation's up.
Yeah.
Bitcoin, little up. Canopy's killing it. What's this?
Yeah, I saw that. And then I saw Tesla in your sheet. There is up almost 4%. Any just like short comments on what's going on right now with Musk and Tesla and the market?
I don't know. I mean, I also like that's been plastered all over the media. This whole conflict now between Trump and Musk. But like, what does that have to do with anything, really?
Yeah, but I mean, if do you see it affect potentially Tesla, which is a big player here?
I mean, yes and no. And reason I say no is because I think, if anything, I mean, Elon's basically got his foot out the door now from, running Doge and all that and getting back into his other businesses. And I think you're going to see that same level of concentration that he normally put in the company before come back. I think anybody who's kind of been critical of his political position, that's going to fade over time. I mean, no matter what, as Elon does other things, like if for instance, like I remember when Arnold Schwarzenegger became governor of California, which random as anything, but like people, judged him for his politics back then at the time because people just get political about stuff. And now, like, no one even barely remembers that he was, in that position. You know what I mean? So it's like these things kind of pass by, and I think Elon's going to fade back into just being known as that, guy who runs these businesses. So I think if anything, even though there's this big pullback, and there's a lot of competition now in the EV range. So I think Tesla's going to have some stiff competition coming up, and they're going to have to continue to innovate and really lead as they have in the in the past. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't picture this crashing or anything like that. I kind of I still think Tesla is going to be a strong company going forward. And it's tough to, like we've always talked. It's tough to value Tesla.
Yeah, very.
I mean,
in terms of cars, though, I saw there was some news here now. In terms of numbers, we are still amongst the top, buyers for Teslas in my country. There's a lot of Tesla owners here. Personally, I've never been a big fan of the cars. I think there are a lot of good alternative electrical cars coming now from other car producers. That the downside with that is they are usually a bit more expensive. But I've always felt like the Tesla is a bit simplistic, which is kind of the point, I guess. I've talked with some Tesla owners. They are very happy with the car, and they are very happy that they can get free updates. Every now and then they get some updates that improves the car and make the car run even better and last longer, and they get it all for free.
Yeah.
So that's a huge benefit that they have in that Tesla system. But I'm just curious to they would have to work very hard moving forward, I think, to keep their advantage in that space, because there's a lot of alternatives now that are pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's important. Like I said, Elon's gonna outwork you. That's one thing
Yeah,
Elon has on his side. He will outwork you no matter what. His team will have less people and do more and be more productive than other people, because he finds those people who just like to work really hard. They love the product, and they love pushing themselves. And that's like his focus. That's what has allowed Tesla to just kind of, kind of pass by everybody. And I kind of think of it like how like Ford was in the United States, back, in the 20s or whenever they became, when they created the Model T. And, they had a long, dominance in the markets because of the fact that they were the early ones who built the first, mass production car. And I think Tesla's kind of there too. Like, they have the EVs, they have the M3 model. I would say it's pretty well priced. If you compare it to most even gas cars, like if you want to get a Model 3, like if you want to get an electric car and you get a Model 3, like it's a pretty nice car. It outperforms other cars by a mile. Like similar cars to like the M3 are like, like a decent BMW and stuff. Like, these cars are fast. In terms of the technological side, they blow almost every other car out of the water. And like you said, with the updates and stuff, like that's something that like you don't see from other manufacturers. They put the car out, that's their model. They're not following up on these things and trying to fix things. They're on to next year's and trying to sell you the next, model. And that's not really how Tesla's approach has been.
No, it's true.
So
yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's just like I have no interest in investing in Tesla. It's too big of a company for me. I like you said, it's very hard to price it. I think if it sets up and it looks good on the swing trading style, maybe I will take a chance at it in the future. But yeah, I know a lot of people like to invest in Tesla. I've never had that interest, even with anything value wise, because it's like Bitcoin. It lives its own life.
yeah, I will say though, Tesla's like a clear breakout stock. So like, let's get crazy and draw some lines. But look at how clearly it breaks out. Like this line here, I'm not saying this is an easy move to catch, but if you buy on this gap up here and you get in on this day, you had a serious return here. Same thing here. So very obvious ones. Now it doesn't always work out, and this peak came back down and this breaks down. So once again, always remember, always set your stop loss, because if on this day you thought it looked like it was breaking out somewhere in here, now once again I would argue you wouldn't want to catch it until it had broken out there, because I always look for the next high.
Though, Dana, I just noticed now in that down period there from December to March, how David Ryan and Minervini, they say like in the general market, usually you get 3 legs down. It's not always, but usually you get 3 legs down, and this is what you have here, right?
Yeah, it matches it perfectly. And then, if you had followed this trend line when it broke, could have caught this. And then once again, you find another range here and it breaks out again. And so, for me, I'm looking here. If it can push through this, and now granted, it has to move sideways for a while, because like this had moved, for this whole time period before it got back up here and broke out. So like, just because it gets to this range, there's a lot of buying pressure here, but there's also a lot of people selling from this anywhere that they bought in here. So like you have a lot of resistance before it can break out here. And that's why I always said, in terms of me drawing lines, I used to just think this was all nonsense, but now I look at it in terms of like what is going on in terms of buying and selling. It's all about supply and demand. So I draw all these lines on here, and I used to just like laugh because it didn't make any sense to me. But I do understand more. I hope I understand more. I've seen it work out, so like I do believe in it now. But this is where I'd be looking at if it could break through this range. And to be honest, even at this size, Tesla's one of those very few companies at this size. If it breaks out, you can play it. Because it just moves. I mean, even here, I mean, this is only like, like a week or 2 weeks almost, and it's 25% move in a huge company. So, I don't mean to go on some crazy tangent about Tesla, but either way.
No.
But yeah, so I mean, I've been just kind of keeping track of some breakouts. I was talking before about looking at things that had broken out in terms of kind of catching them at like end of day. I was talking to Johnny before the stream a little bit about this, and what I'm looking for is the stocks that have these like breakout days, and sometimes it's tough to catch these right at the start of the day. And Ava's actually a great example of it not working. But if you bought at the end of the day here, yes, this next day you probably would have got stopped out here. But there's a bunch of examples where if you got in at end of day, and like for instance, this might be the better one here. I would argue at around this day or this day, this is a good chance to get into this stock. And even if you had bought end of day on this one, it has that run up for a while. We've been talking about, possibly looking at 10-day moving average as when to get out of stocks, or even a 5-day or 20-day, I guess, depending on what you want. And, in terms of like the overall market cycles, when we're in this period where the whole market's coming back up, should we be looking at a longer holding period? Because in the past, there's been times where we haven't had that long of a holding period just because the breakouts occur and then they pull right back. And it's kind of like a, get in, get out. But in this kind of market where there's a lot of room to come back up, maybe it makes more sense to do kind of a longer term hold. So these are kind of different things I'm paying attention to, seeing what's working, what's not working. This is just a mix of stocks that I saw that were, each day I'm watching what's moving, what's not moving, what looks strong.
I think that AIVA stock is such a good example of what we are trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you want to capture in terms of large moves in short times. Really strong stock.
Yeah, and look the volume. It's just like heaps of buying, and when it moves sideways, the volume drops, and there's very little selling actually, and then it comes up again.
Yeah, so, and I mean, the crazy thing is, I mean, look at the selling volume on these 3 days, and this was the only move that occurred. I mean, don't get me wrong, at the time that probably looked like a huge decline, but then just pushes right back through like nothing. I mean, there's just so much,
And with the run up it has had, you have to expect a couple of days like that selling.
But this is a great example of using your 10-day moving average. I mean, if you had gotten in, like I said, somewhere on one of these days and gotten out here, would have been great. Same thing on this breakout here. Now,
then if you scroll a little bit down, because you're blocking the volume.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. So saying these 3 days in terms of the volume selling here. But either way, just strong stock. It just continues to run up. And these are the kind of ones that, like, when you just see consistently day after day, it's just gaining on those percentages. And then once again, like, such a clear breakout here. I mean, is there anything, you talk about Minervini, like, saying, like, you looking for the obvious stocks. Like, this sideways pattern here is, like, perfect. I'm just trying to get his line out of my way. But, like, it's moving sideways. Everything consolidates, and look at the volume decrease. I mean, literally, this is like a 5-star setup in terms of what Kalamaji used to say. Like, in terms of you're looking for a 5-star setup, you have this huge run up here. You have this awesome move sideways for, like, what is that, 2-3 weeks, and then once again just blasts out, and it's riding that 10-day moving average or even the 5-day moving average. That's my dotted line there that you see, just perfectly. And like I said, that volume decline. As you just watch that selling, pressure just disappear, and then just bias,
And you know what, Dane? I've heard on some YouTube videos I watched that from David Ryan. He says, like, sometimes you can actually see a cup and handle pattern form in the volume, and if you get a little bit creative and cut that spike in the middle of this one, you can almost look at it like a cup and handle pattern in the volume itself.
Now I'm just gonna get some crazy with some lines, but this is what he's talking about, guys. And then actually,
Yeah.
it's almost perfect because there is like a little
Yeah.
bit of a dip here, and then boom.
Yeah. So
I'll
this
get
one
rid
is
of this
just
'cause
a,
that just looks ridiculous.
great
but-
example.
But yeah, I mean, this is like a textbook example of one, and this is like the one that like Hugh's talking about that like if you held it till the 10-day moving average. Now I would argue that on this day right here, even though it had this big pullback, it tapped the 10-day moving average and ended right on it. I wouldn't have sold out if that was me. I would have waited to see what happened the next day. And the next day it does start below, but then it pushes right through again, and you'd still be in this. So I mean, this is over 100% at this point, And we're talking in the course of a month. So huge return on one stock.
Great example.
Yeah, and like I said, obviously it's
Now-
easy to cherry pick examples here. So
Yeah, but at the same time, you want to know what to look for.
right, and that's the whole point
So,
too. Is eliminating all the stocks that don't do that. That's the whole goal. And if you just start to compile lists of these names, or just really each day you're keeping track of the different names and you're watching them start to build up, and you know which names are strong, you know which names every day, every other day you see it's up like 5-8%, and even on the down days, it recovers pretty strong. You just can see the pressure building in those stocks in terms of buying pressure.
Yeah.
I didn't go through insiders just yet, so I wanted to take a peek here. And I find insiders, well, like I said, I'm not really looking at this from the value perspective right now, but I still like to just see who's buying what, because like Sportsman Warehouse, didn't this jump up? This had a 15% jump.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's been looking good.
It's not like there's much going on there in terms of buying, but there is someone buying, is my point.
Yeah.
Anything else moving? Nothing's technically moving big. ABR was up 4%. Ampy was up. Or not up, but solid buy here. Just looking at that cash flow, that's pretty solid. I'm just curious what Keurig's been doing. I've followed the stock for a long time.
Looks a bit rough.
Yeah, it's been pretty volatile. I haven't looked at it in a while. I was just curious.
Yeah.
But kind of interesting though. There's a lot of buying pressure here on this down here.
Oh, we have some in the chat here, Dane. The Bacon from Hell, nice name. He's asking, we crashing this market with no survivors. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm not sure if I understand what you are saying there.
What was the comment?
He's saying we're crashing this market with no survivors.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just saying that we're taking everything we can here, but
yeah, we're gonna kill it.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
it does look to me like it's building up. Like once again, I look at this. It's kind of a sideways move here. It's starting to run up that 5-day or even the 10. You're watching that 10-day start to show strength and stuff here. I think this looks like a good solid move sideways. Now who knows? Because like I said, the macro environment's kind of wild right now, and there's stuff that can really affect all this. But just from a sheer market perspective, just looking at the technical side, it looks good to me. And then I was just pulling up my portfolio. So that is if this ever loads. We'll go this way. There we go. So overall, the week was pretty good. Which one's my weekly one? Yeah, like 2.5% up for the week. So
yeah.
I'll take that. Which
I
leaves
think I
year
was,
to date. I'm still up 5% for the year, which I mean, nothing crazy, obviously. I'm hoping that between USEG and some of these other names, as we head into this stronger period of the market, I can actually start to get some serious returns. But point being is, I'm not down, and I'm sure most people are now almost at break even, for the year. And we might be just heading into finally a period where it looks like things are really going to break out. So we'll see.
The bacon from hell is saying, listen, show me your employment status as BlackRock. You've got the keys to crash it before Elon and Trump make up his. I don't know what he's talking about, but
I don't know, I gotta pull it. Let me pull it up on my phone so I can just see what the hell he's saying. Oh, actually, am I able to even look at comments on my phone? I always have a hard time doing this.
yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay, no, this is
No fun allowed. There's a lot of fun allowed here.
Yeah, I swear, every time it's like a live video, it won't let me look at the comments. I don't know why it's so stupid.
It's all good though.
Yeah, either way, I agree. Whatever you're saying, Bacon.
Yeah. And I love your name still. So
but yeah, so just to go under the daily, let me see if there's anything in here, because I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of good names in here. Like this BRL is up 50%. Like what even is this? Stop pulling this over here. I keep hating when my thing does. Oh wow, look at this chart. Hang on, because Johnny, you're going to be messed up here if I don't get this thing to fix. That's a pretty wild chart. What the hell happened with this? Not really my kind of thing, but just, catches my eye when something like this pops up.
is there no news?
Yeah, maybe just momentum from this huge dip. I don't know.
Yeah. I've actually seen, I've been screening a little bit from like 52-week lows, and there's a lot of things that looks a little bit like that, like a huge drop and then a big bounce up again in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I almost wonder sometimes if that's just like the index pressure, as everything like pulls back, and then you have some of these smaller names where like the float is kind of low and people aren't really buying and selling a lot, and then you get, just because the overall market is funneling into it, and then you get a few retail buyers coming in and buying a small amount, which just causes that to fly up.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of names. I mean, this is just the yesterday. I mean, there's a lot of strong, and like these are big moves. These are all almost over 10%. So all these are over 10%. I think actually. I think that's what I screened for. So this is a strong day. Friday was pretty crazy as that day went on.
Yeah, Friday was really good. Thursday wasn't bad, but like you said, the week started a bit rough. It was hard to get in on things. But I also bought a lot of names this week, so my performance are a little bit less than you. I think I got around 2% this week, so I'm happy with that, of course.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it's still kind of all over the place in this range right now, and this is just the intraday. But if we look at like a 60-minute, bit of a dip at the end of Thursday, but I almost think. One thing I've seen is like when the day kind of starts off strong like this, like a lot of times it can kind of hold through, and like probably a good day to be really looking at taking some serious swing trades is the days that like the whole market's strong, because people are going to be buying into these things as that day goes through. If it holds, but you get that little bit where everything's kind of holding up, and I think that gives people a lot of confidence at this level. Because then I'm sure in terms of the losers, this list won't be too. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of stuff that's too far down.
Yeah. This is from Friday, right?
Yeah, this is Fridays.
Yeah.
G3's getting smacked. Orla, wow, Orla was down, huh? Because didn't they just have a really strong day?
Let me check here. Yeah, they did. They actually looked very good.
I was gonna say, I think I was just looking at that name. I'm actually surprised it had that much. Was there earnings or something on that?
No, there's news. Orla Mining releases initial underground mineral resource from Camino Rojo in Mexico. So maybe something connected with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure to be honest, but either way. Oh, and remember, miners were down in general too. So this could have just been overall people kind of trimming on this sector because the miners have shown really good strength. I mean, pretty much for the past
very good.
6 months. I mean, look at this chart compared to what the Nasdaq did over the last 6 months. I mean, they've just flung higher, and now I think as the Nasdaq starts to show some strength, you're watching the miners start to pull back, but. Another sector I will definitely look at in the future when everything else starts to crash is the miners, because they seem to do very well because everyone switches over to, minerals and gold and silver for that matter.
Yeah, and they all look similar to this.
Right.
If you pull out SSRM now, you will see the same kind of pattern, and that's just like across the whole field, I think.
Yeah, and we've talked about SSRM is kind of a special case, but they did have a pullback, although it doesn't look as impressive.
Yeah.
All right, what else is going on here?
Maybe go through some of the quantum names then, because we are both in or something now, right?
Yeah, we can just you just talking the charts.
Yeah, charts.
Let me just get rid of some of these. We don't need all this. So anyways, I'm in QBT, and I'm a little early on this one, which is why I was actually okay to take the position, because I'm kind of cheating here a little bit. But to me, it's consolidating. The 20-day moving average is about to catch up. There was a really low volume here, so to me, it looks like that this looks like the start of a move to me. Not sure, but. That's what I like about this one. And I mean, we're at 1370 right now, and the high was 27, so there's a lot of room to run up if this wants to break out towards highs. And two pretty strong buy days. I was looking at these as well. Hopefully, my goal is hopefully that's eating up a lot of the float.
And it's coming from earnings report on 15th of May where they outperformed on the EPS, but not on the revenue though. But there's some positive forecast there, So this and you have seen what this sector does with momentum in the past. So I guess that's why you cheated a little bit, because you want to be in it when it starts to move, right?
Yeah, and I mean, so here's QBTS, and this is the one you said you're in, right?
Yeah, I took that one because I saw QBT was moving, and it was moving a little bit too far away from me. So I jumped into QBTS because that had only moved 7% when I jumped in on it. So I was thinking if this QUBT moves, this will also move. Yeah, so the entire thing will be dragging off.
They do move in tandem pretty well. And in general, I mean, quantum itself is just a big narrative. As we get closer and closer to quantum computers being, a real product that, we can really use, you're going to see these companies, they might become big players. Because quantum computing is going to be able to do... the other thing with quantum computing is because of the way it works, which if you don't understand how quantum computing works, just as a quick overview, normal computers basically like brute forcefully power through, billions of calculations. Quantum computer kind of does like, the goal would be to do like millions of calculations all in tandem to solve problems, and then just come up with the best answer by running it all at once, essentially. So they're just faster at solving equations where brute number calculating and just doing one step at a time doesn't work well. So there's a huge market for this, and I honestly think once quantum computer becomes a thing, and the goal right now is just to increase the amount of qubits, which is like a amount of processors or processes that can occur in one of the chips. And if this is all gibberish, don't worry about it. But point being is, once these become utilized, there's going to be a lot of things I think that we can use them for that we haven't even thought of. You know, it's like one of those things that, like, when we first came up with computers and everyone's like, oh great, it can like calculate, you know, it's like a calculator, it does math, blah blah blah. It took some, you know, different time periods for people to really start to realize, like, oh my god, you can do all these different things with this thing, you know. So I think that will occur, and I think there's going to be a lot of people pouring money into this to, because I think there's going to be almost like how AI works, like, you know, everyone pays for ChatGPT and they provide, you know, the power to them. I think it'll be similar for quantum computers.
Yeah.
So
It
anyway,
says here on QBTS, it says in a recent news article about them, in Q1 2025, D-Wave's 1.2 qubit advantage 2 prototype solved a complex magnetic simulation in minutes, a task estimated to take 1 million years on the Frontier supercomputer.
right. So that's what I'm saying. So when you're brutally calculating something one step at a time, you have to go through every possible equation out there to solve something, which is just stupid. You know, this is basically, you know, it's just going around it. You know, it's taking quantum physics. It's taking advantage of quantum physics. So, but just to get back to the technical side of things, I kind of agree with what you're saying. I like this one as well.
And
you know, we're in
I
this
really
period
like
here.
the volume here.
Sorry?
I really like the volume bars in recent time, like from May.
Yeah, and I kind of agree. You had it's very similar to Qubit. It had the two big day spikes. We're really low in volume right now, and you know, it looks like it just pushed through the 10-day moving average. The 20's catching up. I think this could move sideways a little longer, but it might not. It might just pop out here because it looks like the whole sector is kind of ready to break out.
Yeah, I agree. And also on the day before, like, I guess that was Thursday, it wanted to drop, but it came back. You see that?
Yeah, and I mean, it bounced off Bollinger Band almost perfectly.
Yeah.
And, you know,
So,
if you don't know what Bollinger Band is, Bollinger Band for me, I just use 2 standard deviations from the, I think it's like the past 5 days. I keep mine tight. I know most people do like 14 days, like 2 weeks or whatever they do. I keep my Bollinger Band pretty tight. I like it to follow. Really, I use it in the periods of consolidation more so than the up or down trends. But with that being said, I think it's right on course for where it should be. And you know, I look at it as if you know, my upper Bollinger Band says about $19. If I see this break through 19, to me, that shows really good strength. Like, that's one way I use Bollinger Band in my mind. It's besides moving averages, it's one of the only other ones besides maybe like RSI or ADR or ATR. Those are the, you know, the few that I'm really paying attention to.
Yeah.
How did this look intraday? Yeah, really strong.
It also says here, like, second largest US pension bought up D-Wave Quantum. So that's, you see the volume we were talking about, like there's some big funds behind this now.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the early morning, you know, this is all before 10 o'clock. I mean, that's where most of the buying pressure came in. And, you know, when I look at intraday, besides the moving averages, the only other one I use is VWAP. And, you know, this never gets below VWAP. And it tried to drop down even at one point and got close to it. And just, you know, people are just pushing it up. So, this is a great intraday chart.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. I think I've always wanted to be in some of these names, and I've tried before, and I've gotten stopped out with a small loss. But this one, I'm feeling optimistic again now.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the other names. I'm trying to think. Do I have a what's it called? Like an ETF or something to measure quantum?
Let me check.
You know, I got to add that to my
Yeah,
industries.
you have a QTUM.
I'll just pull that up. QTUM. Sure, go. Defiance Quantum. I'm gonna have to add this to my dashboard just because I like to have a ET. And talk about breakouts. How good does this chart look?
Yeah.
I mean, you wanna draw some lines here. I mean, this is clearly right where you want to be for in terms of breaking out. So
Yeah.
This as this 20-day catches up here. I mean, this might go for another week or so. This I don't know, but it could break out right here too. It looks like
Yeah.
it has a lot of strength. And like, you know, I almost kind of like when you see like this gap between the 10 and the 20-day moving average right here. You know, I kind of like when that 10-day it almost like it's like two magnets and it just repels. It won't get close to that 20-day moving average. It just shows you, you know, the strength that's in these names.
Yeah.
But, you know, we had this big run up at the end of last year. So I could see we get another leg up here because, you know, I think quantum's just one of those industries that's just at its infancy, and it's going to become a big thing no matter what.
Yeah. And we still both have the tight stop loss here. So if it doesn't work out, it's okay.
Yeah, as always, keep stop losses if you're doing any kind of trading. And don't buy any of this, obviously. Once again, it's not financial advice. Don't do anything we're telling you or talking about, essentially. But, you know, do your own research. You know, you got to really formulate your own style and stuff. But, like, as you watch this, you know, these are the similar trends that Johnny and I have, you know, come to follow. And it's not like we came up with this. We're watching other people who have done, you know, very well following these strategies. So,
yeah.
Is there anything else that looks... Like I said, I saw marijuana look like it was doing all right in terms of... I gotta find a new... I don't know what the heck this is. This is just maybe a company. No, this is an ETF. So it looks like the whole thing had kind of collapsed here, but it's showing some strength here. So this could be an industry that will recover as we get back into, you know, maybe more normal times here.
Yeah. You know, drones had a pretty good week.
You have an ETF for that?
Let me check.
I got Drone Shield.
No, I don't have a ETF on those.
Well, either way, let me just pull up one of these companies. Drone Shield. I don't know what this company is, but yeah, I mean, this looks good.
If you pull up maybe
I don't know if there's even a drone company. Just guess.
ONDS.
Oh, what?
ONDS or DPro.
ON?
Yeah, N. Yeah. Or DPro.
Yeah, I mean, still overall market still in a downtrend, but definitely showing some strength here.
Yeah. And OUST, which I was in, got shaken out last Friday.
Yeah, I mean, this one's a little bit choppy, but
yeah. I tried it there on the last breakout. I got shaken out, which is a bit annoying, but that's gonna happen more times than one, I think.
Yeah, that's how it goes. But yeah, this looks good here. And once again, there's like a line somewhere in here. It's tough to say exactly where this lands, but this would be the area you'd want. It's probably going to consolidate somewhere around here.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have anything else that you had seen that you were interested in?
I think I took TSSI, which has done well.
Yeah, this looks good. You took this on Friday?
No, I took it on. I don't even remember when I took it.
Wednesday? Wednesday looked like it broke out.
I took it on Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, really. Did you sell it yesterday or are you still holding?
No, this is one of the ones I wanted to hold, because I spoke to you before the stream, like SEZL, you know, SEZL, that just kept going on me. I sold out after 3 days, but it's just been killing it since. So now, but I do raise my stop. So now I have secured like a 10% gain on this, which you know, I think I'm at 20 right now. So if it does pull back, it's still a win, which I think it's important to never, you know, let something that you have a gain on end up as a losing position.
Yeah.
So
no,
I am.
Yeah, 10% is a pretty solid lock.
Yeah. So I'm constantly just monitoring it and raising the stop on this one. But yeah.
Yeah, and this is look at this in terms of a stock talking about not breaking through its 10-day moving average. I mean, down here would have been early to get in terms of like a breakout range, but it did hold here, and this is a pretty clear cup and handle right there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if you had held this all the way through the 10-day moving average, I mean, this would have been you bought somewhere at like 45. So, this is Qualamagi's strategy, just murdering it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Another one I took was LASR, LASR.
Yeah, and this has looked good. I've tried getting into this and got stopped out myself, but looks great.
Yeah. Well, that one I managed to move the stop up to break even, but it was at 10%, but it fell down a little bit, so I think I'm at 8% or something now. But I also like, they are coming from a really strong earnings report in the beginning of May, and I just think like if you look at the volume ever since, it's just killing it, and it just moving up, you know, and
Right.
following the 10-day moving average also, and another one that I think I will just monitor and raise the stop and just sell out maybe when it breaks down on one of the moving averages.
Right. No, it looks really good. So there's, yeah, like I said, it just looks, I mean, the end of last week gave me some pretty strong confidence. We'll see. I mean, we'll see where it goes from here. It's not like we're going to have days like that. And Monday could easily be a pullback day just because of the kind of day we had on Friday. But, and like I said, it's always going to be news dependent. So that's the other big thing is, you know, let's see what the overall markets do. But I'm trying to think
another
of
one
other names that are
I took LIF, Dane, but that's slightly a loss for me right now.
What was it?
But I have not been LIF. But I have not been stopped on it.
But, I mean, this looks like another name that's kind of riding that moving average, and the 20's catching up. So, and I mean, this has been quite the run up here. Holy smokes!
Yeah, and he had a really good beat on some of the earnings reports, but it's a larger company though, so almost 5 billion. So I've been holding this for a couple of days, I think, and if it just, I don't know if I'm going to sell out or let it stop me out, but right now I'm just keeping it.
Yeah. This is another example of, you know, I was talking about buying end of day. You know, this is where it really breaks out of this range here. And sure, there's some resistance still up here, but on the day that this breaks out here, if you had just bought end of day, I mean, you would have caught this whole move there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong, you missed this day here, but I'll take this move. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, and to be honest, once again, if you had held through 10-day moving average, this is actually, well, you would have got stopped out here. But either way, I mean, still a really solid gain.
Yeah. And then I have, yesterday I took PGY, which is kind of like a break even right now for me.
Gotcha. It's a big company. 1.3
Yeah.
billion. I don't think I know these guys.
No, first time I saw them too. But once again, they come from our earnings surprise. That's what has caused the spike up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just have seen a lot of buying. The RS line is just keep advancing, and I think right where it sits now, it's on the verge on perhaps a breakout. So
Yeah, because like normally this chart would kind of scare me because it has these
you have those
huge
spikes,
run
yeah.
ups and then just huge drops. I mean, this is like a shorting dream. What's Qualamagi's strategy where it's like the extreme shorts? You know, it runs up.
But I don't remember. But those
like,
are on earnings reports, though. Those falls.
Yeah, that's what the earnings reports are.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing. It has that big of a run up and then that big of a fall on, or like, who's buying here?
Yeah.
But good thing is now all the indicators are turning upwards.
Yeah, and it's a long time till the next earnings report. So I decided to just ignore those spikes a little bit, and you know, like I said, they actually performed on the last earnings.
Right. No,
So
I think I see what you're saying. I agree. This normally, like I said, this would scare me, but with those in hindsight, it looks better.
Yeah. So, but it's that this one I actually bought close to the end of the day or later at the day, and it just kept hovering around 4% when I looked at it. So
Gotcha.
it's I think I bought at 1747, I think, so I'm slightly up on it.
Yeah, another strong name.
Yeah.
And you know, we've been talking about too. Now it's obviously great to wait until the breakouts occur, but kind of looking at these areas where you can cheat in these sideways moves. You know, if you can get in on these, and kind of like Johnny was saying earlier, you got to keep your stop loss a little looser because in this period it can bounce up and down for a little bit as it moves sideways. But it also allows you to get in before some of these huge moves upwards, which, you know, those, I mean, if you can capture some of these huge up moves, I mean, it's a huge return for the portfolio. You know, you get like a 50% return. Every one of those really can like, you know, improve your entire year's performance.
Yeah, and then just pull up Sienna. Remember I told you about Sienna?
What's their ticker?
ZENA. No, with a set for like a Z.
Oh, Zeta or Xena?
With a N. Yeah,
okay.
this one.
Now I remember you talking about Xena. Yes.
Yeah, but my point was not that it had a huge. It went up 100% on some news. I think it was Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was from one of those patterns that I'm currently checking out. I sold it for a 30% earlier, like last week, I think it was. And I was very happy on that day, you know, but when I saw it on Thursday, I was not so happy with my sell there. But my point was, like you said, if you can get those short gains, you start to think so differently, right? When you actually have that 50% in a day, like we had on USEG too.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
You kind of have to take it when you have it, right?
Yeah, and you know, any day, okay, and this is one thing that, like, you know, I have my rules normally for stop losses and things like that, but on a day like this where I wake up and my stock's up, you know, almost 100% or whatever it is, I bump that stop loss up very quickly because I want to I want to secure at least, like, you know, if I'm up 100% a day, I'm gonna boom my stop loss up at least to like the 50% mark and at least lock in a 50% gain.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you could argue you'd want to keep, you know, as this rose up, I'd probably keep moving it to like different like time frames. So like, you know, as we get to 6, I'll probably have it at 5. As we get to 650, I'll move it to 550. As we get to 7, or as we get to almost 7, I'll have it at 6.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times
kind of what.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I did on that previous bounce, and it made me get stopped out on a 30% gain. But at that day, it was actually up 48 or something.
Yeah.
So I did miss out on a little bit, but I was still very happy on that day because I had held it for just 2 days or 3 days, I think. But my point was like you just have to secure those gains, because you see on all of these days it goes drastically up, but it pulls back a lot too.
Right.
You know, so this one on Thursday went up 118%. I think I measured it, and then it ended up just 50%. And I mean, if you didn't sell then in around 100%, you will kick yourself today.
Right.
So it's always easy to look at it, a chart in hindsight, and blame yourself. But when you are actually experiencing on that one day and you have that gain, you start to think a little bit different.
Yeah, you have to take, you know, these are rare. It's rare not only for them to happen, but it's rare to get into them. So
Yeah.
when you do get into them, you have to take advantage of that situation as best as possible.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of these names, you know, as this is going up 100%, it's going to go up 60% and then back down to 40. And then it's going to go up to 80% and then back down to, you know, 50%. So there's huge swings in these. So you don't want to bring that stop loss up too quick either, because then you can just miss the move, you know.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, if you captured like a 30% move of 100, like that's still awesome. It's not like it's a bad thing, but like, you know, it's just trying to play it as perfect as you can. And, you know, it's all hedging odds. It's all statistics. But, you know, I had made 2 big mistakes at the end of last year. Where I think either that or was the start of this year, you know, just doing stupid stuff. And then USEG, that saved my whole thing. You know, USEG was like, I don't remember what it was, but it was a huge return for the portfolio. So, and when we're talking USEG, just to give you guys context, if you haven't seen or watched it, we got in perfectly on this breakout. I think it was up 4%, and Johnny and I both were like, yeah, I took USEG. And then we weren't paying attention, and we looked back like a half hour later, and it was up like, I don't even know, like 80% or something crazy. And that day, what was the total? I think it got up like 200% or something in the day, or 300%. It was really high.
Yeah, it was. I don't remember. I just remember I had 100%, and then I was like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah, I was somewhere. I think I had around just over 100% return, or somewhere right around there is where it ended up being when it pulled back. And same idea. I just kept bumping that stop loss up, you know, as it trickled higher. And then I remember I tried to play USEG on this day. I saw it and I got stopped out on that day. It didn't work. And then I just kind of kept this one in my rear view. And I was, you know, I started looking into the story, and that's where I liked it. And I was waiting for it to form a base, and it never did until it got down here. So this is where I got interested again, because that started moving sideways. And I was like, all right, this looks like a clear sideways move to me. And what really, you know, in terms of deep value now, one thing that I do use in my technicals, I love when this 10 and 20-day moving average meets up and it doesn't break down. Like this one just kind of keeps pushing sideways. That to me just kind of signals that we're in the base, you know? So I started really accumulating in there. And so far it's just trickled up. I mean, like I said, it hasn't been a huge return, and I don't picture this one to really skyrocket until, you know, sometime next year. But the one thing I will say is, if you watch this stock goes, it fluctuates. It'll be up 15% and then down 5% in the day. You know, like there's not a lot of float here. So this is why you'll see sometimes like a day like this in a stock, because it's just not really moving a ton during the day. It's, you know, it seems like it is, and it's really not.
And perhaps not heavy insider buying, but frequent insider buying, right?
Yeah, that's honestly, that's the other big part I look for in deep value. If I can, I want to see consistent insider buying, and this is the CEO. So, you know, and we're talking 6-3. So this last week, still bought another 2,500 shares.
Yeah, just buy every week, seems like.
Yeah, it looks like he's buying weekly now. So that to me, and I know if you listen to him, he's talked multiple times about setting this company up to possibly be acquired. So I know he's thinking, if you got this many shares, and I don't know where his cost basis is because some of these were in $2, but let's say he's like in the upper dollar range, if he can sell his company for $5 or $6, he'll do it because
Yeah.
for him that's a massive return.
And we didn't see him sell on those when we sold out, right?
Correct. He held right through it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if he held through $6, and maybe he couldn't have sold anyway. I mean, you can't sell a million shares.
Yeah, no.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, you could have, because I say he's got 1 million shares. There was 100 million shares that moved on that day. So,
Yeah.
which like normal average is, what is the? I mean, this volume is probably still messed up from that day because normal volumes like it's like probably around like 50,000 or 100,000 shares. It's not a
Let
ton.
me check it. I have averaged like 237K.
Yeah, so yeah, we're talking $200,000 or 200,000 shares a day. I mean, it's not a ton, but if this got some solid news, and my big thing is they're transitioning from natural gas and all that to helium, and helium's going to be much more, per drill, much or a better revenue generator. Sorry, I can't talk, but so I like the business just as is, and we'll see. I'm not even sure I want it to be acquired. I want to see what it does. But this one could be one as it starts to return. I would hope to see some stair steps up and kind of hold it through multiple generations.
Yeah.
Similar to this old stock here, the old Nut X.
Yeah. The prime example.
Next time value tells me to buy one, I'm just buying it. I'm just taking it. He told me $5 to look at it. And I was like, I don't know, man. And next time I'll do a deeper dive.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, too, I literally work in a hospital, so I should have been more attuned to the fact that like this is a really niche business that like the U.S. needs. And in hindsight, it makes very clear sense. And once again, he said that the insider was heavily invested. That was
yeah, and compare it to their salaries and stuff like that. And it's all on his YouTube channel. He made a video of it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of a small insight, but a beautiful insight. Like it
Meaningful,
literally,
yeah.
Gives you the kind of the confidence to be like, all right, these guys are heavily invested. They're serious. They're working. They want to make this business work. And then not only that, they nailed their earnings. I mean, just killed it. And it's like, the stock just took off.
Yeah. Hey Dane, another ticker that I forgot. Like, I was so close to buying it at the very end of yesterday. It's Porch Group, PRCH.
Yeah, I saw Porch had looked. I didn't take Porch, and I'm trying to remember why I didn't, because it does look really good. I was talking about my end-of-day strategy. This was one I looked at, and for some reason I shied from doing it.
Yeah, and that they also have like the last 3 earnings quarters. They have outperformed on the EPS, and it just looks like classic those stair steps. One thing that made me a bit hesitant, I was so close to buying this, and I was thinking, okay, now that I didn't buy it, I'm going to regret it, which I might end up doing. But I saw this candle on 25th of March. Do you see that one, Dane?
Yeah, I see what you're talking.
Which reminds me a little bit on the candle we got on Friday, right? It's on heavy volume. It's a clear breakout, and then what happened next was just a pullback over a month or two,
Yeah, and
I don't know. I'm watching it on Monday, and if it goes up, I'm probably gonna take it if I can.
Yeah, you'll see I just peeked at the after hours, which it wasn't really down anything.
Yeah.
But what was the volume on this day? Yeah, pretty strong volume. I mean,
it was good volume. And if you look at the candles before it, also pretty tight candles, and it's turning around again. So it has a lot. I was so close to taking it.
Yeah, and you know, not only is, you know, in this little bit of a downtrend here too, it broke right through 10 and 20-day moving averages on this day. So,
Yeah.
um,
But once
my
again,
point being with saying that is you said it looks similar to this, but this, it wasn't anywhere near where that, you know, the 10 and 20-day had moved here, you know, and you could see it. It did break out from that 10 and 20-day.
yeah.
So to me, I'm saying it looks like we're more right here, except we're at this level over here.
Yeah, no, that is true. And if you look at this one gaps up on the earnings, right? It has
Sure.
done so 3 times in a row now. It just has that. If you zoom out a little bit on the chart, you can just see this clear pattern. So yeah, I don't know. Let's see on Monday what it does. But I'm gonna move quickly on this if it shows promising signs, you know.
Yeah, and like you said too, I mean, this is just multiple strong earnings reports. So
Yeah.
even a poor earnings report, yeah, this will break down. It probably won't. It won't like break out here on probably a poor earnings report. But I'll have a hard time thinking this doesn't, you know, or it won't like go way down. You know, it's not gonna.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I agree.
This business still shows strength.
5 days ago, they came with a news like PRCH Group repurchases additional 8.9 million on secured 2026 notes from 8.5 million of cash.
Actually, I think I might have saw that news, and maybe that's why I didn't take it, because I was just thinking, I was like, you know, I get it that they secured the notes, but that's not necessarily like any true positive news for me.
No, and I also read up a little bit on it on Seeking Alpha, and there was mixed commentary about management from people that have followed them for a bit. Both positive, but also someone that said like they expected a little bit more of them, you know. So
Right.
I'm not sure. I don't know the company other than the technical side, but maybe I have some time this weekend to just read up a little bit, because they have performed well on the earnings, especially the EPS.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, also the candle on 20 of May, it wanted to go up, but it pulled back down again. That scared me a little bit, you know.
Yeah. But you know, every candle like that just means that was selling pressure that, you know, pulled it back down. So that just
I
means
think
that
there's
there's
a
less and
short
less
interest
pressure.
here also. I think there's a short interest of, let me check it. It's 17% short interest, or 17.5.
Yeah, pretty
So
strong actually.
yeah. Yeah, let's see on Monday. I just thought that should point this one out on the stream. Another one I added to the watch list is DAN and TPC.
Well, what was the first one?
DAN, Dan.
Oh yeah, Dan. That's one of the positions I took.
Okay.
Because same thing. I think
like
it looks
that
great
one.
right here.
Yeah, and another one you could buy at end of day, right?
Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking. Like I said, you know, I get it. You know what Minervini's saying is, so this is kind of like my hybrid idea. Minervini's basically saying like you would want to get in here. This is the consolidation, really tight candles, really low volume.
Yeah.
And then you would catch the whole move here. I like to wait and see if I can get this candle here, which puts us right at breakout range.
Yeah.
You know, starts to show volume coming in. And hopefully this will be a move. We'll see.
Yeah.
Not saying it
Yeah,
always
because
is
at
going
the
to work.
same time, though,
you know, it's all.
Minervini at the same time, he says like, let the market show you. So
Right.
when he uses his sheet things, he's not exactly letting the market show him. He's taken a little bit of a gamble on which way it's going to go, but for him, hugely successful, of course. So he knows what he's doing. But for someone like us who have recently started, it gets a little bit more tricky. So maybe it is beneficial for us to actually see the proof in the chart before we act on it.
Yeah, and I mean one of my points I want to bring up though is, you know, if you have a tight stop loss, if I buy the stock here and it goes down 3%, I lose 3%.
Yeah.
If I buy the stock here and it goes down 3%, I lose 3%. If I buy the stock here and it goes up, I capture this whole move and whatever comes after it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like in terms of recognizing patterns, if you're able to recognize the consolidation here and the small candles, you know, the low volume, all the things that, you know, we talk about, if you're able to start to consistently see this pre-breakout and take your positions here, you know, yeah, it might move sideways for too long. It might pull down and like you get stopped out there. But like you're basically trying to, you know, preemptively see the breakout right before it occurs. And if you're able to anyway consistently do that, you will outperform by a long shot because you know, you capture these big moves consistently. You know, every time you and I talk about it, like we say like, okay, here's like a breakout, you get in here and I know I probably would have got stopped out here, but let's say you didn't and you capture this whole move. Well, if you were looking down here in this consolidation and captured this whole move, you know, just that much better. It's double the return. So, not as easy to do, but if you're able to be really consistent and strict with it, you follow stocks that have had that big upper move and then pull back, start to consolidate. And this is what Kolamaji talks about, you know, is he's looking at these bases and trying to get them as they get out of the base. So he's probably sees one of these candles, you know, saw this lower volume in here. You get involved somewhere in here. Now, don't get me wrong, it could break down. But once again, your stop loss means your low side is always protected. And, or at least as protected as it can be. And then, you know, you can capture this entire move as opposed to waiting until like you get better confirmation and, you know, you get some kind of return. But, you know, on these setups like this and in a market that's like recovering like it's been, you have to kind of take advantage of these situations. You know, there's only so many of them. And if you're trying to really get outsized returns in shorter amount of time, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Like over here, this is a great example of same thing. Like you get in somewhere in here because you know it pulls down, it starts to move sideways. It looks like it's climbing up. And let's say you got in on one of these days and then it breaks down. So this one didn't work. But like, once again, if you set a 4%, 3% stop loss, 5, whatever you use, that's all you're down. And who cares about this move? And then once again, it recovers and we get to the next area where it moves sideways and we have some kind of, you know, consolidation to watch.
Yeah. The other one was TPC, which has run up a little bit already.
Yeah, and I tried to get in TPC. I don't even know. I don't remember when I did, but I've watched this stock for a long time. And of course, didn't get any of this stupid move here. You know what? Actually, I wonder if I tried getting in on one of, like on this day and just got stopped out, you know?
Yeah.
I think it was one of the days it gapped up, or even maybe on this day here. I don't remember. Once again, great stock to take at end of day.
Yeah. And it went up on a fantastic earnings report. This is that big move, but just once again, look at the volume. It's just above average, almost a daily, and you're just buying. So these are institutional buying, I assume, and it's just pushing the price up even now. So this is maybe on the watch list to see if it can consolidate a little bit, and you get the second move up.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
I also added IDT, but once again, too late. That moved up a lot on Friday.
Looks good though. Yeah, this is another one. Actually, I think I got one of these breakouts. I'm pretty sure I did this day and got this one, which it did pull back here, but still, I mean, I captured most of that move. So
yeah, and if you zoom out a little bit, you see it has. Okay, it is in an upwards direction, but it is also moving sideways for long periods, and then you get a drastic move up, you know?
Yeah, and you know, we don't talk about this a lot, but it is something that I do periodically check, this is the weekly chart, and you know, you can see, look at this consolidation you see here on the weekly, you know, and then it breaks out. You know, you could, if you're following just a weekly chart, which I know bigger investors tend to use the weekly because, you know, they can't be quite as nimble as you and I with smaller portfolios. Like if you're moving $100 million, like you can't be looking at this, you know, in terms of like daily charts unless they're really, really big companies, which I mean, not that this is like a huge company, but like, it's, point being is when this breaks out on this weekly chart, and you follow this, I mean, this is a pretty clear example of this one really showing strength.
If you zoom out even more on the weekly chart, you will see a gigantic cup and handle kind of formation right now.
True. He's talking here to here in this area here, and now this breakout there.
Yeah.
So once again, another way to use the weekly.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at this run up it's had in the past.
Yeah.
Oh, is this COVID? All right, ignore that. Don't look at that because that's COVID.
No, but those your point about that is it's important. Like some stocks have shown. I like to see that it has showed you in the past that it can move.
Well, and the other thing too is, I had told you that, in terms of like letting some of these things run up, a good thing I find if it's a really strong stock, you can use the 5-day moving average. Now this is a 5-weekly moving average, but every time it got even down to the 5-weekly moving average, it stayed above. So, and granted, I know everything in COVID was kind of a nutty time, but if you had bought this in October and just held through, half a year, I mean, this was a serious return.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, you have to hold something quite like this. Like, I mean, obviously you can swing trade like this, and if you were a big institution, this is probably what you would love to see. But
if you look at where it is now and you use the same strategy with your 5-day moving average there, it looks potentially maybe can repeat some of that up move.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, sometimes the issue with it sometimes is it'll lead to longer holding periods. Like, this one, it popped up here. And I mean, don't get me wrong, if you had gotten in here, then great. But then it moves all this time. We're talking 3 months here, and then falls below it. So you get stopped out there and you could have just sold in that first week. So it doesn't always work. Sometimes you're going to be holding something for a long period, which, I think leads some credence to, how Kwalamaji he would sell half his position after like a week and then keep the other half for the long term.
Yeah.
Like you kind of playing both sides where like, okay, I took my gains here, huge return just in week 1. And then, this time, the second half of it didn't work. But in this one, the second half worked very well.
Yeah.
So it all kind of evens out into...
Yeah.
But this is also too, like, we're talking like a lot of different strategies here. I'm just kind of spitballing ideas. So just remember to be kind of consistent with whatever you're doing, especially at first, because you don't want to try too many different things all at once, because it just kind of becomes convoluted, and you'll end up making mistakes that way.
It's very costly to test things, and I said like when I test things, I like to put money behind it, so I can feel how it is. But it turns very costly if you are onto something wrong. So I have to monitor things a long time before I start to put money behind it, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. One more, Dane, I forgot to mention earlier. I took MPAA, but I sold it again because they have earnings before opening, I think, on Monday, and I didn't want to hold through it. This was a small gain for me. Maybe a mistake, but I saw at their previous earnings reports, and it's not a good history of outperforming.
Gotcha.
Even if the share price has gone up, they kind of miss on some of these earnings estimate, and I think they only had one analyst covering them, so I just didn't want to take the risk. Maybe I will regret it on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you saw. It didn't go crazy here, and probably due to the fact that earnings are coming up and everyone's kind of just a little hesitant. But I mean, if you got somewhat of a gain, I think that's probably the right move. Maybe watch on Monday, and you could possibly play it as an EP. If earnings come out and it's good and this starts to go right up, maybe hop in as quick as possible if you can, if it hasn't gapped up too much.
And if they outperform, it's like, okay, I still don't want to, I've held through earnings multiple times as a deep value investor, and it can be painful.
Yeah, yes, it can. can be really, really painful.
I was thinking about it yesterday, actually. Like that feeling with Alto for me, it's like I just never want to repeat it again, and which is why I have been so into this swing trading style. I know I've said this before, and you have talked about it as well, but it's just like, or I think for me to hold through some earnings now, I would have to have a pretty decent gain that I feel comfortable, missing out a little bit on it.
Yeah.
But I think I'm just gonna have that as a solid rule to sell out before our earnings report.
This is the earnings report that he's referring to, is this section here.
Yeah, I'm gonna print out that chart one day and hang. I might even decorate my entire house with it. To be honest, yeah.
That's one way to remind yourself. Yeah, and in terms of like I've already talked about, and this was initially my strategy when I was doing deep value. I don't know why I ever stepped away from it, because I was an idiot for doing it. But because you want to talk about great charts, this was my beautiful chart. This, you can't even see it anymore because it's been almost the whole year. This was the one I decided to rock through.
Yeah.
But,
it's all on the channel. You just go and watch the videos.
Yeah, you watch our actually, I want to say that this is held up, and I was still correct in the long run. I just overcommitted to position, which really screwed me. But whatever. Huge learning lesson for me. So I've come away a much better investor from this experience, as you could call it.
Yeah.
Because it's ugly, especially when you zoom out there.
And that was not on our earnings report, right? That was on news.
Well, it was post earnings, but yes, it was on the news. That was coming. We knew it was coming. We were just waiting for the news.
I was about to say we know they were coming with this news, so it was kind of similar. Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, my point being is initially I was just making sure that on my deep value I put 10% stop losses in. Which for deep value, I wasn't taking, initially I wasn't taking as large positions. I started to take large positions, and it smacked me because my risk tolerance was, incredibly high for no reason. But, this is the kind of example where, if you're going to do deep value, you're looking for, so, okay, you have this huge sell-off, and then it gets down into this region. And when you see the 10 and 20 consolidate, this would be a good period in my mind if you like what's going on here. This is where you'd start to take your position. Now this chart's a little wild for it, but like with USEG, you have this downwards thing, and then you got this sideways move where the 10 and 20 meet up. This is where me as a deep value investor, I'm going to start to get in this area and then put my 10% stop loss on. If it doesn't work out down here, it is what it is. You have to just take it. A 10% stop loss on a 10% position means it's only a 1% loss of the portfolio. So if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. But if it does work out, I mean, this could be a big return. And like I said, I like the business here. So in my mind, this is going to go up to at least 3 something. Like I said, I think it's going to take a year to get there. But I'll take, hopefully like 100 to 150% return. I know it takes a while, and that's why I don't have a ton of these positions. But it could still be a big return overall. So it's one of those things that... What's up?
And on these ones, if you're already in it with a value position, you can use the chart and swing trading to add to the position.
True.
As it moves up.
And, it's kind of all over the place. Like, this has been going all the way down into the 20s, up into the 40s. So, I mean, there's a lot of volatility in this. So, it is starting to move back up, but nothing crazy yet. And like I said, really, until we get further along here, we need more news about the drills and the success of the plant being, built that... we'll keep everything on track and continue to allow this to trickle up. But like I said, we got the insider buying. If he's continuing to buy, that means in my mind, everything's on plan for him. Like all his timelines are being hit, because if he's going to continue to invest, that makes me think he's not just throwing money in it to just do it. Unlikely.
Yeah. And we have a section of USEG in the Discord channel where you referred to a video earlier. We have posted the video and some links there if you are interested to just check out what we are talking about here.
All right, I do got to get going.
Yeah, all good.
But overall, we'll see where the rest of the next week goes.
hopefully it will continue because Thursday and Friday was fun.
Yeah, yeah, it really helps because I think on Wednesday I was getting a little depressed. I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just missing left and right. And then
Yeah.
the rest of the week was it turned it from a loss to a decent game. So
Yeah.
I'll take 2.5% every week for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You know, if I
Sounds
can
like
do
a
that,
good
I don't
deal.
know where that gets me, but I'm pretty sure it makes you like a billionaire if you
Yeah.
know you're my age and you go till like your 60s. It's
Yeah.
crazy how much 2.5% compounds.
Yeah. No, for sure.
You know, most people are shooting for 10% a year. I'm shooting for that in like a month. You know,
It sounds so crazy, but when you start to read all these people that has actually done this consistently, I'm not saying it's easy, and you and I we are experiencing it now. We make a lot of mistakes, but it's at the same time it's good to have some people that has proven that they can do it. And in light of that, I just, you know, Minervini has tweeted a couple of times now that if you are frustrated about your trading doesn't go as good as you hoped for, look here, and he's showing some example, but with some charts and stuff like that. Actually, I didn't think that has been very helpful for me this last month or so. I think he has posted a couple of tweets like, just calm down, like things are not exactly perfect right now, but he thinks it will come, you know.
yeah. And I agree. You know, and Minervini's been doing this for so long, and the only thing that really gives me a lot of hope is I see what he says. Like, I kind of see it, and I'm formalizing my own ideas. But then, like, he comes out and reinforces it, and I'm like, okay, I feel like we're on the same page. Like, I'm kind of seeing what he's seeing. And for the group of us that do this style, we all kind of see the same thing, and I think that's what's important.
Yeah.
You know, we were just saying, what is it? Discipline for a long time in one direction. You know, just focus on one setup, one strategy, or one area. And I know we do go back and forth between value and stuff, but we've done value for a long time, so that's kind of like ingrained in me now. And trading now is becoming more and more ingrained in me. So I'm it's more like I'm trying to see all sides of things and then make smart decisions based on that for where we are at the moment.
I think you're just seeing us trying to find our own unique spin on things,
That's
which is
true,
why
too.
we constantly look at different things to see are there elements of this that we can implement in what we are already doing, and so on.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, have a good rest of your weekends. We'll be on. Oh, actually, you know what? Next weekend I have to work both days. I'm on
Okay.
call that week and we're short, so I'm not sure what time I have to go in just yet.
Yeah.
So I may be able to do an early stream, but I might have to take next weekend off. I'll
Yeah.
let you know it, you know, as it gets closer on how it looks. It's
Yeah.
not looking
We-
good
we-
right now. I can tell you that. I'm probably
Okay.
gonna be working. So.
Yeah. All good. We update in the Discord.
Yes. Yeah, we'll keep everyone up. But other
Yeah.
than that, I hope everyone has a good rest of your week, and let's keep this rolling. Looking for a nice strong week.
Yeah.
Nobody
hold
start
on,
any
hold
new
on.
wars, and nobody keep making tariffs. Just keep those things on the DL. All right.
Yeah, I think that will be a good plan. And you know, when I do this, I think we will
Oh, there we go.
survive.
The glasses are on,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Up and to the right.
So this is a sign that this coming week will be very good.
Thank you for the glasses, guys. Yeah, I don't know if you've paid attention, but when those things come on, the markets do some wild shit.
Yeah.
We don't know what the correlation is. I think it has something to do with quantum.
Yeah. Definitely quantum, and yeah.
Well, I didn't even realize your glasses have like a little spinning thing on there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. They I can see stuff that you can't see.
Yeah.
So
Tell me what's happening next, will you?
yeah.
All right, that's about the dumbest ending we've had. Everyone, have a good time.
Yeah. Bye.